Why attack Sanders? Why?
2020 candidate Joe Biden lost his damn mind on a reporter that asked him a simple question. Now, generally, I have nothing against losing it on the media. I think there are quite a few reasons to lose it on the media, but this wasn't one of them. So context matters here, and I'll give you the full context after this clip. But basically, Joe Biden launched a dishonest attack on Bernie Sanders, and that's what this is all about. Watch.
Well, yesterday you said you accepted Bernie's apology, and now you're attacking him. Why are you doing that? Why wasn't his apology enough, Mr. Vice President?
Right this way, sir.
Why attack Sanders?
Why? You're getting nervous, man. Just calm down. It's okay. He apologized for saying that I was corrupt. He didn't say anything about whether or not I was telling the truth about Social Security.
Thank you guys. We gotta do it.
Okay. Now, there actually should have been a follow-up here, because Joe Biden is the one lying about his history on Social Security. I did a video breaking this down. There are 5 different clips showing Joe Biden fighting for freezing, cuts, or adjustments to Social Security. So while Bernie Sanders has an entire 40-year record of fighting to expand Social Security benefits, Joe Biden's record is all about trying to freeze or cut them. So go watch that video if you want more context on that specifically. But his reaction here really shows you he can't handle basic questions. I mean, can you imagine this guy against Donald Trump in a debate? Like, is he going to lose it if a debater or if a moderator brings up, Biden's history of cuts? I mean, this is why Joe Biden has a glass jaw when it comes to a general election, because Biden's history is not good on these issues. It's, I would say, even worse than Hillary Clinton's issues were in 2016. So Hillary Clinton had ties to Wall Street. Ties to Wall Street is just the beginning of Joe Biden's issues. So, you put this kind of matchup against Trump. Trump can use many of the same attacks he used on Hillary and even more. Meanwhile, Bernie Sanders, he's able to appeal to young people, to progressive independents, to typical non-voters, people that did not come out in 2016. That's why Bernie Sanders is more electable, because the people that voted in 2016, Democrats that voted, are going to come out regardless in 2020 to vote against Trump. But you need to get out the people that did not come out in 2016, and that's the Bernie base. Young people, progressive independents, typical non-voters. So Biden's going to keep using this idea that he's more electable while lying about his history on Social Security. And look, as long as people have the correct information, it's not going to work. But to explain more of this reaction here, let me just give you some of the backstory. So Zephyr Teachout is a Bernie Sanders surrogate. A few days ago, she wrote an article in The Guardian titled "Middle Class Joe Biden Has a Corruption Problem. It Makes Him a Weak Candidate." Going on to say, "It looks like middle class Joe has perfected the art of taking big contributions, then representing his corporate donors at the cost of middle and working class Americans, converting campaign contributions into legislative favors and policy positions isn't being moderate. It is the kind of transactional politics Americans have come to loathe. There are 3 clear examples." And of course, she goes on to explain those 3 clear examples. I'll link to her full article below the video so you can read the whole thing. But basically, let me just give you the quick overview here. One example of Biden's corruption is that he spearheaded the bankruptcy bill while raising tons of money from Wall Street. Second example, Biden continues to protect private insurance companies. So Biden is not for Medicare for all. And look at that. You look at his campaign, raises tons of money from the private healthcare industry. Third example, Biden is weak on climate change, and he continues taking money from fossil fuel companies. He broke the fossil fuel money pledge. So these are 3 clear examples of Joe Biden's corruption that still continue to affect him today. So what happened? Well, corporate media figures sided with Joe Biden in the sense that they didn't like, Democrats fighting, because a primary shouldn't be about comparing records and policy. It should be about your personality, apparently. I mean, if you can't compare your records, you can't compare your policy positions, then what the hell is a primary about? I mean, it's supposed to be a democracy. You have a choice of candidates. It's important to compare the candidates. That's what Zephyr Teachout's article was going into, looking into Joe Biden's record and why you can't trust him, because he is corrupt. But corporate media, and I shouldn't say, not in general, but several figures, especially online, attacked the Sanders campaign for pointing out these obvious facts about Joe Biden, and Sanders stupidly apologized. So I think the issue here is that Bernie is actually friends with Joe Biden. So I think he maybe legitimately felt bad that Joe Biden was being so exposed. But he apologized. And how did the Biden campaign react to the apology? They released a campaign video packed with lies. Watch.
As Democrats, we can't launch dishonest attacks against fellow Democrats. We have to beat Donald Trump. Now Bernie's campaign has unleashed a barrage of negative attacks on Joe Biden. They've even accused Joe Biden of supporting Paul Ryan's cuts to Social Security. Bernie's campaign is not telling the truth. Joe Biden has repeatedly voted to save Social Security. He and President Obama beat back Republican attempts to privatize it. And in 2012, Joe Biden even said he didn't support those cuts to Paul Ryan.
We will be no part of a voucher program or the privatization of Social Security.
Biden's plan protects Social Security and will increase benefits. Bernie's negative attacks won't change the truth. Joe Biden is still the strongest Democrat to beat Donald Trump.
And this is why you don't play nice with corrupt politicians. They don't care. They'll easily create a campaign ad full of lies in support of themselves and attacking the only candidate in the race that's actually telling the truth. So, I mean, it is mind-boggling, the amount of lies in that video. So let me just start with the last point that Biden made there on electability. I discussed this a bit earlier, but it even shows in polling now, this from Newsweek, Bernie Sanders leads Donald Trump by widest margin of all 2020 candidates election poll. So even based on polling right now, Bernie Sanders is actually the one that is defeating Trump by a wider margin than Joe Biden is. Now, I briefly discussed Biden's history on Social Security. Again, that video linked above earlier, if it's not linked above now. Go watch that for all the context. I'm not going to break that whole thing down again. But Joe Biden is lying about his history here on Social Security. And the Bernie Sanders campaign, thankfully, responded to this video using audio from just one of the times that Joe Biden advocated for freezing Social Security.
When I argued that we should freeze federal spending, I meant Social Security as well. I meant Medicare and Medicaid. I meant veterans benefits. I meant every single solitary thing in the government. And I not only tried it once, I tried it twice, I tried it a third time, and I tried it a fourth time.
Well, we've got some bad news for them. We are not going to cut Social Security. We're going to expand benefits.
So, those are the facts. Those are Joe Biden's own words. There is a video about it. There is more than one video about it. There are 5 videos about it. There's an entire history of Joe Biden and what he has fought for his entire career. An Intercept article goes into 40 years of Joe Biden's history on Social Security. Joe Biden is the one that is lying here. Now, this takes us back to Biden going crazy about this question. So why attack Sanders when he apologized? That was the question that was put to Joe Biden by the reporter. Here's why. Biden saw the new poll numbers out of CNN. New CNN national poll shows a Bernie boom. Bernie Sanders nationally now at 27%, in first place, above Joe Biden at 24%, with Elizabeth Warren at 14 and Pete Buttigieg at 11. Showing you right now, this is really a two-person race between Bernie Sanders and Joe Biden. And currently, at least in this CNN poll and other polls coming out now, like I showed you with the head-to-head matchup against Donald Trump, Bernie Sanders is the one leading. Joe Biden is rocked. He's worried. So, I mean, you don't snap like that on a reporter unless there's something else going on. So, I think this kind of shows you when Biden is feeling the pressure, he doesn't know how to respond. He doesn't know how to react. He just kind of blows up and then kind of tries to cover for it by, I don't even, like, did he cover for it though? Like, he blows up and then he kind of calms down when he holds the reporter. Again, putting his hands on the report. Like, the whole thing was just really weird. It's not something... it's the kind of thing that if any other candidate did that, if Bernie Sanders did that, if Elizabeth Warren did that, if Pete Buttigieg did that, they would correctly get criticized over it. Joe Biden does it, and it's just Joe Biden. Just Joe Biden being Joe Biden. I mean, it's absurd. But I think, while the media is treating Joe Biden that way, I think people see through him. Because it's obvious when you actually look at the data, look at the facts, that Joe Biden is lying about his record, is lying about the fact that he's the one at first, is lying about the fact that he's the one that's the most electable, when he's using the same strategy of reaching out to conservative voters that Hillary Clinton used. Why do you think that would work now when it didn't work last time? You have to bring out people that did not come out last time to vote. Bernie Sanders does that. Joe Biden doesn't. And he sees now in the polling that people are recognizing this, and Biden is worried.